What is up, everybody? Welcome in to the Fantasy Tap. It is week 7, waiver wire targets and streaming options time. It's time for that episode. The best. Now, would you say this is the best episode?
Either this one or the must starts, must sits are my favorite, to be honest.
Yeah, this is a good one. Yes.
This is all about building a roster and playing the right people and, winning your week.
Yes. So I enjoy this one. But before we jump into that, guys, smash that like button, subscribe button, hit the little bell so you know when we launch a new video and go live. We do our live stream every Sunday at noon Eastern to answer your start sit questions and fantasy football questions in general. Also, don't forget to join our Discord. It is growing. We're getting a lot of people in there. It's a lot of fun. Talk fantasy football and stuff like that. All right, let's jump into it. Our week 7 waiver wire targets and streaming options. Real quick, there are a lot of bye weeks this week, John.
There are actually 6 teams on bye this week, and they are going to be some big ones when it comes to fantasy football. We will be missing out on the Chargers, the Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, the Vikings, the Steelers, and as well as the Buffalo Bills. So gonna need some receivers
and quarterbacks. Listen,
running backs.
Herbert, Dak, Kirk Cousins, and Josh Allen. I mean, right now those are some top names. I know Kirk Cousins is kind of like the odd man out there, but he's still having a good fantasy year. Yeah, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard, James Robinson, Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, Najee Harris, and even Zach Moss.
Yes,
and Devin Singletary if you're really, really. And then, of course, you've got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb coming off a massive week. Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Chase Claypool, and Deontay Johnson, and then Stephon Diggs, and Emmanuel Sanders, and maybe even
Cole Beasley with how he's playing today.
Yeah, he just scored a touchdown, and we are in the middle of that game as we speak. So, all right, let's jump into it. The quarterbacks that we are picking up that can be a streaming option if necessary. John, jump into the first one. And it is
all right.
A homer pick.
It is. It's not so much a homer pick. It's more of just who they're playing. We're going to be telling you guys to pick up and stream Tua Tagovailoa. If you guys have any of those quarterbacks that are not going to be playing this week, and there's no better option sitting on your waivers, he's owned in 25.3% of leagues, going up against the Atlanta Falcons this week. Obviously, a team that likes to get beat up on, and I do expect Tua to be able to keep a good game together. He did have. Obviously, he didn't connect, but he did have a pass last week that the ball traveled like 40 yards. So he can throw it. It's confirmed. He can move the ball downfield if he has to. So I'm excited for him this game. And then they did play them in the preseason, and it was actually a pretty interesting and fun game to watch. I do think that the Dolphins will be able to put up some offense.
I hope so. I think this is going to be a good offensive game with how both defenses are playing, which is going to lead into our next player. That is Matt Ryan, 29.1% owned. The Dolphins defense secondary especially is banged up currently, and they're not even playing that well, to be honest. So I think this could be a very good week. You've got Kyle Pitts, who just emerged in London, Cheerio. And you've also got Calvin Ridley, who is coming back. And of course, Cordell Patterson, the 9th-year breakout. So Matt Ryan, I think, is a great streaming option and somebody you should pick up this week. He doesn't have a bye anymore. So even if you just want to hold him on your bench, he already passed his bye. So even if you just want to hold him on your bench, maybe you've got somebody who has a bye down the road. You might, unless you have, the Chargers, Cowboys, Jackson, those guys. So pick him up, hold him on your bench, potentially. If he continues to play well.
All right, next guy on the board, we're going to tell you guys to possibly pick up Ryan Tannehill if you're in a desperate situation. They will be going up against the Kansas City Chiefs this week, and though Taylor Heineke wasn't able to put the game together that I was expecting, we do expect Ryan Tannehill to be able to still put up some nice offense while allowing Derrick Henry to run for his 100-and-something yards, which he has to do every game anyways.
Yes. He hasn't had the best season. He is my sit of the week last week, week 6. As of right now, it's panning out. It's panning out. He does have a rushing touchdown, but he doesn't have much through the air. He does have an interception. So KC has their defense just been putrid. After that, he's got Indianapolis and Los Angeles Rams, pretty tough. But then it gets kind of nice. New Orleans and Houston and New England. So definitely somebody you can pick up and stream this week with everybody out. So pick him up, grab him. Let's move over to the running backs. J.D. McKissick coming off of a very, very solid week with Antonio Gibson getting injured. I mean, he might be the pickup of the week as far as running back goes. Two reasons why. Obviously, Antonio Gibson could miss some time, and he just had a solid game. So we could see J.D. McKissick be a solid option for the next couple weeks if Antonio Gibson misses.
Obviously, he has that PPR upside. We saw it last year, leading the running backs in receiving targets and receptions. Those 8 catches, you would have started him as a receiver alone. Now giving him that running back upside gives him just even more of a boost. Definitely someone you're going to want to roster throughout the rest of the season if you've got some space and a play this week for sure.
Yeah. All right, John, talk about this next guy because I'm not on this. I'm on this train with you, but not for this guy. I'm interested in another guy in a very similar situation, but go ahead and take it away.
All right. So I'm going to recommend you guys start buying up some players that are going to be possibly on the trade block and could be moving to teams. And one of those guys for me is going to be Ronald Jones. He's owned in 51% of leagues, and he's not someone that's going to be highly sought after, so you don't have to spend any fab budget on him now. But there has been some rumors that coming up on the NFL trade deadline coming week 8, which will be next week, he could be someone that could be looking at a new home. And as talented as he is shown to be, there obviously, whenever he makes a mistake in that Buccaneers offense, he gets ripped out of the game fairly quickly because they've got so much other talent around him. If he goes to another team, they're going to be putting the ball into his hands because he's shown that he's talented. And there's an opportunity
putting it on the ground.
There's an opportunity that he jumps into a team that's very running back needy at the moment and possibly really shows out and takes over a strong role right away. Let's talk about it. The fact that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are out, it's a possibility goes there. Could go to Seattle. There's a lot of teams that could use a solid running back, even if it's just a depth piece. So I think he's someone you pick up and hold for cheap. And if nothing happens, just drop him. It doesn't hurt you. Don't do it if you have shallow benches, but if you've got some space, definitely someone you want to look for.
Yeah. My guy, and we don't have him written down here, but my guy in that's a similar situation as Marlon Mack, 7% owned. Just to, pretty much parrot what John said. He's potentially on the move, potentially rumors, things like that. So, but let's get to somebody who's not on the move. That is Randre Stevenson. He had 5 touches, which is less than the following week, but he does have, he did get in the end zone. Very nice. The commentators, the one thing that worries me about him, the commentators were talking about how he was in the doghouse after fumbling in week 1. And he completely missed or fell down and missed on a block for Mac Jones to block Mac Jones. And I forget, I don't think it was the interception. I think Mac just got rocked. I can't remember the exact play, but then they started talking about him going back in the doghouse. But I think Randre Stevenson is definitely somebody you can own. Turn your benches a little bit. Has the upside if he can get a hold of the backfield, and if something happens to Damian Harris, he could really step into a nice role there.
All right.
So
I don't mind it. I like him a lot. I think he's someone that could have some upside there. Someone else living off of other people's injuries, Alex Collins. We do have Chris Carson heading to IR after this week. So expect him to possibly, take over a bigger role. He had a very solid week. He didn't really impress me. I'm not jumping all over him, but being that the running backs are so so banged up across the league, and there's so many questions around it. The 20 carries for 100 yards, definitely something you want on your bench. I'm just afraid of them starting to move other people into that backfield and not give it a true one situation. But if you got him, he really showed out when he was playing for the Ravens a few years ago before his legal issues. Very talented player, has not been talked about enough. So, Mike, I know you're a lot hotter on him.
Well, yeah, I do like him. I mean, anytime you can carry the ball 20 times and average 5 yards a carry, especially against, a Pittsburgh Steelers, it's a good defense, which ended up winning in the game, really. But I do think that, while Chris Carson's out, while, Russell Wilson is out, they're going to have to, unless they bring somebody else in, they're going to have to rely on the run. So if Alex Collins, because he did get banged up a little bit, but if Alex Collins is 100% healthy and can maintain the majority of that backfield, I think the run is really going to benefit the Seahawks, and they're going to stick with him. So Alex Collins, I do like him. Let's get over to a team I don't like, but they have a running back I do like, Michael Carter. The last 2 weeks, he's played over 50% of the snaps, had 10 touches this week, hasn't really been efficient in either week that he had 10 or more touches, other than week 2. But the last 2 weeks, he's had 3.8 and 2.9 yards per carry, but did get in the end zone. I think they're going to start using him. In my opinion, when you just watch him with the ball in his hands, he is the best playmaker out of that backfield. So he is going on bye week this week. So, I'm sorry, he's coming off of a bye week. My bad. Coming off of a bye week. I looked at it wrong. So I don't know if a lot of people are on him. So I think you could get him for pretty cheap.
Yeah, he was someone that I threw in the waiver pickups last week because they were going on bye. There was probably not much of a rush to go grab him. And then obviously coming off a bye, there's no points for people to look at and see that he just balled out. But like I said, he is someone that it does seem to be taking over a larger share of that backfield. Him and Ty Johnson seem to have pushed Devonta Freeman completely out because he's not there. Oh, it's not Devonta Freeman. Who's the other running back there that was the... Tevin Coleman, sorry. The other old washed up guy that used to be great.
Yeah. Oh, he was just injured. He was hurt a lot in San Fran. Let's move on. Jarrett Patterson, just a name I think you should pick. Like, you'll get him really, really cheap. You should be quite cheap. If Antonio Gibson, it does for some reason go on IR because of his shin, or he's out an extended period of time, I think this guy is somebody you should have. If you're a pretty shallow running back, this is a just in case, he starts getting more work, which he should, if it's just him and JD McKissick. So Jarrett Patterson is just a name you should know. Pick him up if you have the room on your bench, but he's not a quote unquote must add this week. But I do think this is the cheapest you could get him, and he could pan out in the future.
Another speculative group of people with Nick Chubb possibly out again this week for Thursday night's game against the Broncos, and then Kareem Hunt heading to IR. D'Ernest Johnson does come up. If Nick Chubb misses, D'Ernest Johnson could be a low-end flex play this week. And then if you guys want to make a speculative ad because you got the bench space, Demetric Felton, who's come off of the special teams group and has come in as a receiver so far, was rostered to be a running back. Again, it's a speculative ad. You're not throwing him into your lineup. You're just holding him in case it does turn out to be something so you don't have to pay up for him later.
Yep. So let's move over to the wide receivers. Somebody that we were pretty hot on in the draft season. He's had his games. He's 3 for 3 right now. He's had 3 good games and 3 really bad games. So he's on the waiver wire a ton. He's only owned in 45.1% of leagues. Or I'm sorry, he's only owned in 45.1% of leagues. My bad. But he seemed to have a pretty good connection with the rookie quarterback there in Chicago, and this is Darnell Mooney. Justin Fields and Allen Robinson really haven't been able to connect. Whereas Darnell and him have a little bit. He's gotten a lot. He's been consistent in the target share there. So I think he's somebody you should pick up. He's going up against Tampa Bay this week. And yes, the front seven is very good for the Buccaneers, but they are not very good there on the back end. Actually, they're fifth worst against the wide receiver position in fantasy, allowing 41.35 fantasy points so far. And they're also sixth worst against the quarterback, allowing 21.69 points an average to the quarterback. So giving up yards to that in that secondary.
Yeah, Darnell Mooney's been getting about 30 to 35% of the targets since Justin Fields has come into that offense. And anytime you see a receiver get that sort of target share, you've got to start throwing him in there almost on a weekly basis, even if it's at a low-end flex. As soon as Justin Fields decides to start takeoff and throwing is the guy he's been drafted to be, able to make consistent high-volume games as well, I think we're going to see Darnell Mooney shoot up into a high-end wide receiver like we were projecting him to by the beginning of the season. Definitely a roster grab, a very valuable bench asset. So definitely someone that you want to make sure is not on a waiver at this point in the season.
Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown only owned in 12.1% of leagues. He's getting consistent targets, especially the last 3 weeks. I think he's really going to stepping in to that number one wide receiver role there in Detroit. And especially with TJ Hawkinson banged up, I think Amon-Ra is a great ad, and he's not very highly owned.
Definitely. Obviously, my favorite guy coming into the draft fell off a little bit because Jared Goff's not that great, and he's starting to earn that role into that offense and could be seeing some more and more target share as he seems to be doing a lot with it when he does get it. Just needs to start getting some touchdowns. Still waiting on his first career touchdown. Could come this week. Yeah,
it could. Yes, it could. It's going to be a difficult one, though. I don't know if I would play him this week going up against the Rams, but I do think it's coming soon. Somebody who he's been banged up for the whole season, actually. Came up and then had 6 targets in his first NFL game, and that's Rashad Bateman. He's only owned in 14.6% of leagues. He's playing Cincinnati this week. I think he's going to be a good flex start. Actually, he might be a nice sleeper play this week at the flex spot. Okay.
I think he's he's almost in the Darnell Mooney category, if not above Darnell Mooney, to where if he's on your waivers, he's definitely someone that needs to be on your bench because there's not many other players that you're going to be able to scoop up, especially with the full season value that you get with Bateman coming off of IR.
Yeah. T.Y. Hilton, he did get banged up at the end of the game, but I think with a quad injury, but he is okay. They checked him out again today, Monday. So he is all right. He went 4 for 4 for 80. We know he's got the big playability. And unfortunately, Michael Pitman owners, T.Y. might start really, really taking some of that target share. He's only owned in 12% of leagues. I like T.Y.
I think that's another great ad. Someone else that I like, though, I've been a huge fan of KJ Osborne so far this season, and coming into this week, he actually got another beautiful touchdown. The guy popped off. It was absolutely great. Still only owned in 8.1% of leagues. There's no reason that this guy shouldn't be on a roster, at least filling a bench spot, even if you can't slate him in there, because you don't want someone else throwing him in there against you and ending up ruining your day. He is a top 36 wide receiver on the year so far, and that's before this week's numbers go in there. So he should be shooting up into the low 20s.
Wow, that's crazy. Love it. And guess who dropped his ass before the season in a dynasty league? Yep, I'm an idiot. Nico Collins, baby, there for the Houston Texans. It's not a sexy ad, and I would. It is very similar to picking up Jarrett Patterson, in my opinion. He's not a must add, but he did have six targets, 4 catches for 44 yards. He's on a bad offense with a shaky quarterback, but I think that he will give you some weeks It's just, can he find the somewhat consistency, and are you going to be able to, predict when those weeks are? But I do think he's somebody to have. If you have a space, if you have somebody on IR or something like that, I think Nico Collins is somebody you can pick up.
I like him a lot. I think he's another very, very valuable asset that you can get, especially when Tyrod Taylor comes back into that offense. Could see a little more consistency coming from the quarterback and could reflect on the receivers heavily.
Yep. So, and then finally, Donovan Peoples-Jones, 5.5%. He had 2 touchdowns. One of them was a bomb Hail Mary, which is why he went over 100 yards. I mean, it was very nice. 57-yard Hail Mary. Did you see that play? It was pretty cool.
I did.
Yeah, it was nice. One of my coworkers was there at that game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, went 4 for 101. That receiver core is pretty shaky, even with Odell. Jarvis Landry's not there. They don't have that quote unquote safety blanket. The tight ends aren't always reliable, and they're going to Case Keenum, which kind of stinks. But I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is somebody similarly to Nico Collins that can be added if you have some injuries and things like that.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think he's a usable player if you've been stretching your roster thin and just need someone to fill, especially if you've got bye weeks and injuries, then you could really be screwed. But I like it.
Yeah. All right, let's get over to the tight ends. And this is one of my favorite ads this week, and he's going to be highly sought after. I'm just going to say that. Zach Ertz had a good performance his last Philly game, fantasy-wise. Only under 48.3% of leagues. He's going to the Arizona Cardinals, a high-flying offense. A lot of targets to go around, but I think Zach Ertz can find some stability, and it's only the tight end position, so it's not like he needs 8 catches a game. Give him 3 to 4 for 50 and maybe get in the end zone. It's a great week.
And then we saw how the Cardinals were using Max Williams before his injury, and they were giving the guy 5+ targets a game and keeping him heavily involved. I do think Zach Ertz has proven himself to be a very talented tight end, so I would say it's an upgrade there. So we can almost expect a little bit more productivity coming out of there.
Yeah, definitely. Also, another one, Ricky Seals-Jones. He's been while Logan Thomas is out, he's been getting it done. Logan Thomas did go on IR. This will be his 3rd game coming up, so I believe he's eligible to come back after this week. But Ricky Seals-Jones going up against Green Bay should be a pretty nice matchup. Somebody you can stream this week.
Yeah, he's been just getting peppered ever since Logan. He filled that Logan Thomas role incredibly well, and we've got a little bit more time out of it, so take advantage of it while you can. If he's available, slot him in there, especially if you've been weak at the tight end so far this season.
Yeah. One tight end who has been playing quite well, getting the targets. However, he's going to be on a bye, which you can plan ahead. If you need to plan ahead, for a bye week in the next couple weeks, I can guarantee you can pick up Tyler Conklin for free. Don't use a waiver priority. Let the waivers run. Guarantee you 99% sure he will not be picked up.
You're going to get tweets of someone screenshotting their thing and saying, you told me not to, and someone bid $1.
Yeah. So I think Tyler Conklin is somebody you can pick up and plant for the bye weeks coming up to maybe one of your big name tight ends for free. Oh, free!
For the free. Now, definitely another guy that's just filling in the role that was made for another person fairly well. And streaming tight ends is streaming tight ends. You're not asking for much, and you're happy with what you get as long as it's not the reason you lost.
Yeah.
I mean, even then, if I get 0 points from a streaming tight end and I win my week, I'm not mad at them.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I at least want like 3 points, 4 points. Come on now. Someone in a similar situation as Tyler Conklin going into a bye week. Pat Freiermuth has touchdown upside, has some connectivity there, or some connection with Ben Roethlisberger. So,
yeah, I like him. I'm still hesitant. The receivers in Pittsburgh keep getting hurt, so he's definitely someone that's going to take on a bigger role as soon as he needs to. And I think it's definitely someone you're going to want to grab before he's needed because he's going to be expensive when he is. So take advantage if you got the space.
Yeah. Also, if you're in Dynasty, go pick him go seek him out. Go pay a second round pick for him. See if the owner will give him to you. I think he's going to be a dog in the future. Let's go over to the streaming defense of this week. New England going up against the Jets, 57.7% owned. I think they might be the streaming, quote unquote, streaming defense of the week. Going up against a great matchup. So you might have to pay up a little bit for them, like 5% or whatever. Somebody desperate might pay like 15 though. I wouldn't pay 15. But I think like 5% fab is fine on them.
Yeah, 5%. At least one just to lock it in case everyone else is going for a free defense.
Yeah.
The minimal bid.
Another nice matchup. Arizona going up against Houston. Arizona's defense is starting to really turn it on. That JJ Watt's looking good. Had a sack. Seriously, had a sack and a fumble recovery. This week.
It's almost like he should go to the Pro Bowl in one time in his career or something.
Has he?
At least.
How many has he been?
I think he's won
of them?
like 9. He's won Defensive Player of the Year twice, 3 times.
I haven't. I need to look at it because he's a good, very good player. So Arizona, nice ad there. And then finally, last but not least, New Orleans versus Seattle, 49.8%. This is the Russell Wilson-less Seattle. With Geno Smith, man, a couple turnovers in key parts of the game. Now, there are rumors that Cam Newton is out there, and they have talked. So that could be something. I was going to mention it during the quarterbacks, but I forgot. If you're really struggling, Derrick Henry for the second touchdown. If you're really struggling for a quarterback, you might be able to pick up Cam Newton on the cheap, just in case he gets picked up to the Seattle Seahawks. But for the defense-wise, New Orleans going up against Seattle, I think it's a pretty nice streaming option you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had Cam Newton sit. I haven't dropped Cam Newton still. I've got him on a dynasty team, just sitting there waiting.
So do I have him in a dynasty superflex?
It's not even a superflex, so I'm not cashing out like that. Good job.
Yeah. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is our week 7 waiver wire targets and some streaming options for you. Like we said, don't forget the Chargers, Cowboys, Jags, Vikings, Steelers, and the Bills are all on bye weeks in week 7. So plan accordingly. This is when you do it. This is when you pick up those players you need to fill that spot. And look at other players. Look who else has a bye week coming up. Check them out. Start planning.
And look who gets dropped as well. Ooh, especially in the shallow roster leagues. Look who people are dropping for it. If you have your starting lineup playing this week, someone's dropping someone because they're on bye week and they just don't have the room for that player, scoop them up. That player just no longer has a bye week affecting them. That means you don't have to go through the situation they are. Definitely check out who's getting dropped. Big value coming there.
Guess what? That paid out for me in a 14-team league. I was able to pick up Jerry Jeudy. He's on IR, but we have IR spots in this league. John's in that league with me. And I picked him up. So he's just sitting in my IR spot.
Is that the Superflex or yours?
It's the one on ESPN.
Okay.
Yeah. The only 14 team I'm in. So, all right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time. We love you.
Peace.